Welcome back to Session 2 of 2020 December
예, 2020
World Commercialization Conference and Workshop. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Prayag Yadav. I am a research assistant professor at KAIST Global Commercialization Center. I'll be moderating this Session 2. The second session is on Korea-India Technology Cooperation Network. In the first part of Session 2, we have 5 presentations, 2 presentations from India and 3 presentations from Korea. As in the morning session, we will have all 5 presentations first, and then we'll have a comprehensive combined Q&A session. Please keep note of your questions, and I request all online participants to send their questions using chat options on the platform. So without any further delay, let's begin the Session 2 and invite our first speaker from India, Dr. Ashutosh Pastor. Dr. Pastor, are you ready? Dr. Pastor is Incubation Manager at Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer Office of Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Dr. Pastor will present on COVID-19 solutions and opportunity for collaboration. And Dr. Pastor, you have 20 minutes for your presentation. May I kindly remind all the presenters to present their presentations within the allotted time. Dr. Pastor, please go ahead. Dr. Pastor, are you?
Yeah, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Dr. Pastor, I can hear you.
Yeah, so thank you for the wonderful introduction, Dr. Yadav, and a very good morning to all the friends at Korea, and good morning and evening to people at other places of the world. My name is Ashutosh. I'm working as Incubation Manager for Startups at the Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer at IIT Delhi. As many of you might know, the Indian Institute of Technology Delhi is one of the premier institutes in India and probably the top-ranking institutes, one of the top-ranking institutes in the world for engineering. So the Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer is the industry interface organization at IIT Delhi, and our whole mandate is to commercialize the technology that is developed by academia, by startups, and take it to market. So we work with different verticals, and I'll give you a brief introduction to all of these. So just to begin with, the different verticals that we work is in terms of partnerships with industries, to provide them expert consultancy, to provide professional development services to their staff. We also do sponsored R&D with a very goal-oriented or focused research problems. And till now, we've done more than 2,000 industry R&D projects, and we're working with many global companies and companies in India. One of the primary mandates that the organization had was to manage the intellectual property of the institute, and we are doing it for quite some time now, and I'll just go through the history a little bit. So IPR protection and technology transfers and joint developments of technologies are forte, and we have filed more than 950 patents. We were a bit slow in earlier years, but now it's almost like more than 150 patents every year for the past couple of years, and we're targeting even more than that. So in terms of technology commercialization, there are various ways we're doing it. We are promoting spin-offs from academia, from our faculty members, students who have developed those technologies and are willing to take it to market. We are doing licensing, out-licensing to industries to use those technologies, and also to an extent we do some joint development before it goes to market, and these collaborations are going on. So more than 100 tech transfers we have done till now in the past few years, and then we are also supporting startups, so the spin-offs or even other startups in the region, in the country, and even some of the startups in the global stage. So we're trying to support those. And we're in a scale-up phase now, so like we're also going to have research parks where joint R&D facilities are to be established with industry. and one research park is already operational in the Delhi NCR region, and the other one is coming up at our main campus in IIT Delhi. We also provide a large business mentoring pool to people at academia and to the startups, along with the investor and resource partner connect. And the network is growing day by day with major universities, incubation centers across the globe and in India. So with that, I would just like to give you a brief, where we began. So the organization started its operations in 1992, and it was one of the first of its kind in the country. And we drafted our IPR policy for the institute in 1994, where none other in India had thought of. We started our technology business incubation in 1999, and then we also encouraged spin-offs. Few other incubators were created, and in 2020, the highlight of the day that I was trying to put in the presentation is the Innovation Technology Transfer Office. So initially, we were providing these IP and technology transfer services primarily to the institute, but now with the mandate with the Department of Biotechnology, which is one of the departments of the Government of India, the National Biopharma Mission that is supporting the Innovation Technology Transfer Office, which has a larger mandate of supporting external institutions and startups for IPR and licensing. So across the region and across the globe, we can support the companies to in-license or out-license the technologies. So, the Innovation Technology Transfer at IIT Delhi was, as I mentioned, was established under the National Biopharma Mission of BIRAC to cater to the northern region of India, but then we are open to provide these services across the globe wherever we can do it. So initial targets is the incubators, the startup incubators, and we are reaching out largely to the universities and institutes across the country, to innovation centers and innovators, to research and science parks, and to small and medium enterprises and industries. So all these can avail the support that the Innovation Technology Transfer Office can provide. And in the next slide, I'll be coming to what kind of support we can actually provide and what kind of linkages we can make to support each other. So one is the, as you all know, IP and technology transfer support, where we kind of mentor also to an extent the faculty members and students, tell them the nuances of IP and technology transfer so that more, as compared to publications, they're actually aware like how exactly to protect their IPs and how exactly to commercialize them. So while mentoring them in terms of creating an awareness and all, we also provide them all the services in terms of helping them to file their IPs and then doing the tech transfer deals, reaching out to industry. Then it's about technology acquisition, development, and consulting. So also providing assistance for acquisition, adaptation of technologies, along with various R&D projects among industry, startups, and academic institutions. And our team at the Innovation Technology Transfer Office is also doing a large industry mapping where we're trying to have a whole idea of like what kind of industry and what scale they're working so that this whole process becomes comparatively easier for them. We also do a lot of outreach, and FITT also has a lot of corporate members where these corporate members get an advantage of having early access to the technologies that we patent, and we give them first option to kind of get a license to those technologies. So the outreach towards partnerships and technology development and transfer. So technology development is also an important aspect here where we would like to partner with many other institutes, startups, and organizations for joint developments of technologies. In terms of linkages, we are also open to develop linkages with other R&D organizations, incubators, industries across the globe. And as I mentioned initially, like creating awareness about all these, especially in academia, was the target that we had also envisaged. And we're trying to create the whole ecosystem where people know how exactly to take care of their IP, and then we're also trying to help them form spin-offs, startups, and then actually take more and more of the technology that we develop to market. So these are the general aspects that we are trying to follow. So with the universities, we are trying to help them protect their innovations. We're trying to help them develop technology and services and then showcasing them. We are scouting partners for them. we're providing contract management and IP policy creation. And as we told, like we have quite an experience in that, and we're one of the earliest in the countries to do that. We're also trying to help with analytics in terms of the patentability assessment, novelty searches, market searches, and various other things. And similar kind of services are being provided to other agencies like startups and other organizations. Now, if we talk about what kind of sectors we are taking care of, so while I mentioned that it was started as part of the National Biopharma Mission, but then we are not limited to pharma and life sciences, but we cater to all kinds of technical sectors across the spectrum. So while the life sciences is highlighted here, but chemical sciences, electricals and electronics, telecommunications, information technology, robotics, everything can be taken care of. And with our expertise being at the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi, engineering is one of the things for which the institute is known. So I mean, we have been handling these technologies for quite some time now. So here are a few points where how exactly we can engage. So one is in terms of the technology development projects, where we can help provide technical expertise for identified projects or receiving such expertise. So as I mentioned, collaborative joint projects could also be done in between academia, where IIT Delhi is one of the partners, and other universities also we are providing similar services to. Academia to industry or industry to industry. We can do in or out licensing and joint ventures with selected partners. But one of the major targets is, as mentioned, the first point is in terms of technology development projects and providing technical expertise for such identified projects. I would like to highlight a little bit on the kind of technologies which are available for licensing. And all these technologies that I'm highlighting right now is the technologies developed in response to COVID recently by our startups. So as you can see, there's an N-Safe mask which is up there. It is developed by the Textile Technology Department at IIT Delhi, and they also have a spin-off so startup which is working on these, and they have developed these. It's the wash durable and reusable mask which can be washed up to 50 times, and they say it lasts at least for 3 months. You can use it with multiple washes. It's an antimicrobial mask with multiple layers. The outer layer is a hydrophobic layer, and then you have an inner layer which is more of it's again the inner layer is also an antimicrobial layer, but it's not a hydrophobic layer per se. And with 99.7% filtration efficiency, they have also tested the product at various places, and I think we'll be sharing a compendium of technologies where all these details will be available. It's also flash proof, the elasticity of the band is good for snug fit and all those things. Now, these people are primarily looking at partners for distribution and commercialization of this product. So the technology is already developed and patented, and it's in market in India. But we're looking for international partners who can help in manufacturing and distributing it in various other parts of the globe. So primarily we're looking at an out-licensing for this. The next product that you can see is the Chakra Decove. It's an automated system which decontaminates N95 masks. So initially when we started, I think we were facing an acute shortage of N95 masks and other PPE kits. And at that time, one of our startups developed this Decove. It's based on multiple technologies. One of the primary ones is an ozone-based disinfection, so that the disinfection reaches to every nook and corner of the mask or the PPE that the sterilization is targeting. Now, there's also some mechanisms of having the safety thing, because while working with ozone, we have some safety issues. So all those are taken care of with negative pressure and all incorporated in this. So this mask, Chakra Decove, the sanitization chamber is also available, and they are also primarily looking for partners who can help them in manufacturing and distribution, or maybe we can do an out-licensing for them to be deployed in other countries. There's a Seagate disinfection portal which detects entry of a person and initiates the process, and it's effective for 4 hours. So this is a hypochlorous acid-based chamber where there are sensors which can monitor the incoming and outgoing of a person, and this disinfection is effective for about 4 hours. So there's this email ID given down there where you can send your queries in case you have any. The chief manager, itt@outlook.com. There are some other technologies also available for similar, as I was telling, like we have a lot of other technologies, but today I'm talking primarily about the COVID-19 related technologies. So you can see this reusable face mask, just kind of a shield and adjustable full face respirator with replaceable air filters, which are there to restrict pollution and microbes. This prototype has also been validated now, and now they're looking towards manufacturing it. So let me just. So these are also like looking for primarily for partners who can help in manufacturing. This is a smart dispenser based on IoT with a mosquito repellent property and sanitization thing. For them, the POC established, but they're looking towards a joint development or kind of a development project. They can also take help of certain technologies if there are any technologies available with any of the companies out there in these areas. So this is one. And the cheapest one is a contactless portable respiratory monitoring device, which you can just place at a distance and it can monitor the respiratory parameters. So this product is also ready, and they're looking at an out-licensing for this product. So I think with this, I would like to just close it. I think we've also shared a compendium of technologies, and I think I've given a link which is down there. I'll also share it in the chat box separately. So you can go through all the other technologies also that are available, along with a few more details that are available. So I just gave a brief about these, and in case you want to reach out to us, this email ID is available, and I would also like to share my own email ID and phone number in case you want to have further discussion. So with that, I would like to just close this presentation. Just I think well within time, 2 minutes are there. So in case there are any queries, I think we can take a query, or maybe as Dr. Yadav suggested, we can take those queries at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pastor, for keeping your presentation within the allotted time. We have our next presentation. The next presenter is Mr. Irshad Ahmed, and his title of presentation is Connecting Korea with India and the current status of COVID-19 test kits in India. Mr. Irshad Ahmed is Senior Manager and for Ecosystem Building of TKN Advisors. Mr. Irshad, you can. Mr. Irshad, you have 20 minutes for your presentation, please.
Yeah. Am I audible, Dr. Prab?
Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. Prayag. Hello, everybody. A very good afternoon to all of you. This is Irshad from TKN Advisors. We are an investment advisory firm based out of India and an official partner of Dec GCCW in India. First of all, thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule to attend this event. Before introducing TKN, I'd like to start by briefly discussing the India-Korea relationship over the last few years. India-Korea relations has made great progress in recent years and has truly become multidimensional, driven by alignment of interests and high-level exchanges. Trade and economic relations have gathered momentum, with annual bilateral trade reaching $21.5 billion in 2018, crossing the $20 billion mark for the first time. The target now is to reach $50 billion by 2030. In 2018, Korea's investment to India crossed the $1 billion mark for the first time, recording $1.053 billion. In addition, the visit by Prime Minister Modi and President Moon to each other's countries gave a visible boost to the bilateral economic relations. India and Korea decided to commence negotiations to amend SEPA, which is the trade agreement. I hope this gives you a context and a sense of opportunity that lies ahead in the relationship between India and Korea. Coming to TKN Advisors, our company is a 3-year-old startup that was started in Bangalore. We are a mix of Indians and Koreans working together, and our founder, Tak Lee, has been living in India for the last 8 years. We've been helping our Korean investment partners with their Indian startup investments using our experience, expertise, and network in India. So far, we have advised or invested in around 20 Indian companies. While working to connect the Korean investors with the Indian startup ecosystem, we learned that India and Korea are in many ways very disconnected. In order to serve as an investment bridge between India and Korea, we felt that having more interaction and information exchange was an absolute necessity, which is why our company has been doing different activities to bridge the startup ecosystem. And this is what you see in this slide. In 2018, we co-hosted Startup and VC Roundtable held in Seoul, along with Invest India, the investment promotion agency of the Indian government. We also hosted an India trip for the Korean Venture Capital Association members, also known as KVCA, to introduce them to the startup ecosystem in India. You can see some more such India trips with Korean VCs below. On the other side, we have also hosted Korean trips for Indian startups. In particular, early this year, we organized a Korean night where we planned a pitching session between promising Indian startups and Korean investors interested in Indian startups. More than 30 investors had attended this event. Just last week, we co-hosted the first virtual pitching session between India and Indian startups and South Korean investors in association with NASCOM and the Embassy of India, Seoul, where 7 hand-picked Indian startups pitched to a group of Korean investors. As an official partner of the 2 Korean government agencies, NIPA and COSME, we have accelerated more than 50 Korean startups in India. The startups were interested in exploring, the Indian business market to expand or establish their businesses. Launched in here, had a dedicated co-living and a co-working space for the startups. Here you can see that we have hosted 4 batches of startups, each batch participating for 15 weeks. And COSME Accelerator program was conducted last year in partnership with GSF Accelerator at Korea Startup Center in Gurgaon, India. These accelerator programs involved a mix of activities such as field visits, classroom sessions, networking events, and an India tour. Here are some more efforts from our side in order to provide accurate information about the Indian business environment to Korean entrepreneurs. Your Story Korea is a co-project with Your Story to provide Korean entrepreneurs with news about Indian startup industry in Korean language. Start in India is a YouTube channel that we launched in September to provide a variety of high-quality information about India to Korean investors or entrepreneurs who are interested in India. The NIPA India office was the first sponsor. We create content that shows the spectrum of growing business sectors in India and those that will enhance the awareness of India as a whole, including information about cities and culture in India. Please do check it out on YouTube. Next, I'd like to discuss a little about TKN's association with Dec GCC and our ongoing cooperation activities. Recognizing the strong complementaries between the 2 countries in the area of science and technology, we have been working with Dec GCC to support technical cooperation between India and Korea. Through this, we are working to identify opportunities for collaboration between scientific institutions, industry, and academic community to work together to develop technologies for symbiotic development, particularly in hot new sectors. We've even hosted guides in India and arranged visits to organizations such as Invest India, Niti Aayog, which is a policy think tank of Indian government, Bloom Ventures VC, and FITT, which is the innovation cell at IIT Delhi that spoke earlier. I'll now take you through 2 of our ongoing activities. The first project is around joint R&D program by Indian and Korean government, for which GCC and TKN have brought together relevant partners from Korea and India respectively. The program aims to promote projects that are innovative and at the same time focused on creating products or processes that will eventually lead to commercialization. The program invited proposals from 4 different areas, starting with future manufacturing, future utilities, digital transformation, and biotechnology. Selected R&D project participants would receive a conditional grant from the respective government of around $440,000 each. The duration of the project is up to 24 months. The specific project that we're working on is to develop a personalized light recipe for indoor farming. I'm going to cover just a little bit here, since one of the companies involved will be speaking about this project later today. Controlled environment facilitated indoor vertical farming is a global macro trend to address a food sustainability and security problem. This trend is arising due to issues of climate change, resource contamination, urbanization, desire for organic food, and reduced dependency on food and pack. The project proposed here is to co-develop a platform to optimize light recipe and other environmental variables for a crop to grow with improved yield while consuming less energy for the artificial lighting used in indoor farming setup. This can also improve breeding times, fruiting and flowering times, and plant life cycles, thereby enhancing overall productivity, quality, and producing multiple cycles of crop throughout the year. One could grow different plants this way for food, flowers, and even cosmetics. Alif, the Indian team here, is a startup whose major technology is to develop LED light recipes for crops that can be cultivated in vertical farming systems. The Korean team consists of 3 companies: FarmAid, a commercial plant factory company, APAC, an LED manufacturer, which is now focusing on specialized recipes for agriculture, and Sisal Primus, which is an expert in data analysis for agriculture and creates simulators for crop growth environment. GCC represents the Korean side, while TKN represents the Indian side. So Alif will develop light recipes, locally prototype them, and does internal testing. APAC will develop LED lighting system and manufacture them. FarmAid and Sisal will develop crop growth environment simulator, test the recipes, analyze the data collected in the plant factory, and provide feedback for optimization. This will be deployed in a plant factory for producing the plants at scale and for go-to-market commercialization. Moving to the second project, which is around electric vehicle charging technology, I will start by sharing a little about the EV market overview in India. At present, India is still in the early stages of adoption. According to McKinsey report, the electric vehicle adoption rate is less than 1%. However, over the last few years, there has been significant development in the electric vehicle space, with many 2- and 4-wheelers getting launched. According to BIS report, the electric vehicle market in India is expected to grow at a CAGR of 43% between 2019 and 2030. There are many factors that has led to the development of this development, and the government's push in this area stands out in particular. The government of India has set an ambitious target of 100% EV sales by 2030. Niti Aayog is targeting 30% EV penetration in India by 2030. A tender was floated recently to avail incentives for deploying EV charging infrastructure on both sides of major highways and expressways every 25 kilometers, covering a total of around 15,000 kilometers. The major challenge for the growth of EV in India has been inadequate charging infrastructure, very little local manufacturing, and consumer reluctance in purchasing EV due to range and charge anxiety. Through this project, we aim to introduce EV chargers from a Korean company called Dec in India that are highly power efficient, consumes lesser space, and has lower setup costs. The chargers have a market share of around 80% among EV bus charger manufacturers in Korea. Dec uses a master-slave technology for its bus chargers, which reduces the cost of the charging infrastructure drastically, as shown in the image. The master kiosk here is placed separately from the individual slave dispensers, and these dispensers consume very little space and has optimized power compared to the otherwise used integrated setup. This technology is alien among the Indian EV charger manufacturers at the moment. In addition, solar can be used to generate electricity. We are in advanced stages of discussion with Indian companies to finalize a partner for modern tech. While Geist is representing modern tech, TKND is with the Indian partners. Modern tech will provide the technology and the Indian company will take care of the manufacturing, installation, sales, after sales and maintenance. Currently, chargers in India are mostly imported from China. Only one company is manufacturing the charger in-house. Manufacturing in India will give us a great cost advantage. Moving on to the next session. First, I'd now like to take you through the current situation of COVID-19 test kits in India. I meant COVID-19 test status in India. So let's start with some statistics about COVID-19 in India. The total number of cases has hit 9.5 billion. That is 0.7% of the total population. As you see from the blue curve, which is the daily new cases, fortunately it is now coming down. Similar case with the number of deaths per day. However, there is a chance for a second wave to arise. The active cases are at 428,000, which is 4.5% of the total cases. The death rate is 1.45%. India continues to be ranked as the second highest affected nation in the world after the US. Talking about the unlock phase, partial lockdown is imposed only in containment zones. Domestic travel has resumed. States can now individually decide when to start schools, although none of them have, most of them haven't. Some of the states have tried to. But also there is a restriction on indoor gathering, not more than 200 people are allowed. Now the ground situation in Bangalore, the traffic seems normal. It is just the IT parks that still remain deserted, while the other trades continue to look almost normal. Here I'll throw some light on the COVID-19 testing status in India. India first started testing only people with symptoms and with a travel history or with a contact with those who have a travel history. And then slowly the testing strategy changed where India started testing all international passengers to all of them. Slowly private labs were allowed to test for COVID-19, even though the government had appealed to private labs for free tests, that however did not pan out. In April, the government discouraged the abundant use of antibody kits because they could only be used for survey purposes, and that was not very helpful in identifying positive cases, which was the need of the hour back then. And it was around July or August when the government started encouraging companies to produce rapid antigen kits due to the limitations of RT-PCR in terms of availability. We will discuss the antigen kit in the next slide. As you can see in the graph here, the COVID-19 testing in India started picking traction around August, and now the testing capacity is at 1.5 million samples per day. There have been a total of 142 million tests done until now. Tests per 1 million people remains low compared to other countries at 103,000 tests. Validating a COVID-19 test kit involves two main steps in India. Validation. Step one is validation from ICMR, which can be skipped if it is already US FDA approved. ICMR is the apex biomedical body for COVID-19 management in India. ICMR has approved 14 out of 50 antigen kits that were validated and 142 out of 303 RT-PCR kits that were validated. Step two, import license and marketing approval from DCGI, which is the Drugs Controller General of India. The process turnaround time was significantly shortened to effectively battle COVID-19 in India. Talking about the testing strategy used, it has been recommended to run a rapid antigen test first. If the result is positive, it should be reported as positive. If the result is negative and it is symptomatic, an RT-PCR test must be done which will give a definite result. If the result turns out to be negative and is asymptomatic, a repeat antigen RT-PCR test can be done if the individual turns out to be symptomatic. Now, introduction of antigen kits have helped ramp up testing, especially in rural areas. Out of the antigen kits approved, 3 are from South Korea here listed. One of them being PCL, who will be presenting in this session. And this kit manufacturer, SD Biosensor, was the first antigen test kit in India that received an approval from ICMR. They even set up a manufacturing plant near Gurgaon in India to produce more kits. Rapid antigen test kit accounts to about 30 to 40% of the total COVID-19 tests in India. The percentage of antigen tests from the total tests done varies from state to state. As you can see in the picture here, you can see Karnataka has a lower share of antigen testing compared to others over here. This is because of concerns about the accuracy. Similarly, states like Bihar, Telangana, and Gujarat have an antigen share of more than 75%. Analysis show that states with balanced proportion of RT-PCR and antigen are reporting higher number of positives and account for a larger share in countries' total number of cases. That is all for me. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you very much, Irshad.
Thank you.
We have our next presentation from Hillsarian Corporation. The CEO, Dr. Benjamin Chongwon Ryu, will present wireless handheld ultrasound for COVID-19. Dr. Ryu, you have 10 minutes for your presentation. Dr. Ryu, you can begin.
안녕하세요.
Hello everyone. I am Chongwon Ryu from Hillsarian. Let me start my presentation. I had a background of working as a doctor, and some years ago, I studied up Hillsarian, and I am providing healthcare-related items to the global market. And one of the products that we have is the wireless handheld ultrasound diagnostic device for COVID-19, and that is very portable, and that is about the size of a pocket, and through Wi-Fi that is connected to your smartphone that uses an app. And once you use the device to the patient, the imaging related to the patient goes to the smartphone, and that data is stored on the smartphone, and that is also sent to doctors in a remote distance. So our product is for primary health care. So community-based clinics are major customers for us. Especially the pediatric clinics for motherhood clinics, or including the pregnancy women, our device can be very useful. And also this is usable for senior citizens care or for rehabilitation efforts especially. And our portable ultrasound device was found to be very useful under the COVID-19 situation. That is to provide the point of care services. So through the device that we produce on site as part of the point of care efforts, we can check whether a person has pneumonia or not. So that means that severely ill COVID-19 cases can be detected through the device, and early detection is possible with our device. So with the protective clothing on, you can go inside to the hospital room, and you can use our device to check and diagnose the patient. And that is the strongest upside of our device. And as you see here, we minimize infection. And that is one of the characteristics that we can promote. As you see here, so the ultrasound device is wrapped in a sterilized wrapped package. And if you have the device near to the patient, you can check on site whether the patient has a problem or not. So we have two kinds of the ultrasound devices, Sono 300C and the other one is Sono 300L. And our portable ultrasound device Sonon can be used on site as part of the point of care diagnostic devices. So we made an application for UN ops bidding process, and our product was chosen as one of the good products by the World Bank, and our product is on the list of the products catalog. And our ultrasound device is available on the product catalog issued by the World Bank, and 80 countries concerning the World Bank have been allocated necessary budget from the World Bank. So looking at the catalog, countries, if they want, they can place orders for our devices. In case of the U.S., we are working on the bidding process so that we can supply our products to the GPO-related facilities of the United States or the Defense Acquisition Program Administration. And this is about medical AI. So even the general people should be able to use this kind of device in an easier way. So in order to make that happen, we are doing this kind of research. And in particular, along with the Harvard University related people, we are studying a joint development for AI technology. So we are working on making users feel easy to use our products. We will further work on sophisticating portable ultrasound devices so that those devices can be used on site under the COVID-19 situations, also in community-based clinics. So our product is really easily accessible and it's really easy to use. And through the device, data can be collected, and the collected data should be stored and utilized better in a platform. So now we are working on developing such a platform. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
네, 훌륭한 발.
Keeping the time, which is very important for us. Our next presentation is from GT-Sign, and Mr. David Friedman, who is head of international business, will present on strengthening the vaccine cold chain with IoT-based smart vaccine storage management. Mr. David, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. Get started. So, yeah, my name is David Friedman. I head international business here at GT-Sign, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we've developed this brand new IoT-based smart vaccine storage management system to help us strengthen the vaccine cold chain. As you know, you've probably heard with a lot of new vaccines beginning to get approval and be released. That seems to be the next step kind of in the COVID response process, and we want to be directly part of that. So to talk a little bit about GT-Sign, actually originally we were what we call ourselves a lab EHS solutions provider. That means that what we do is we provide environmental, health, and safety solutions for the laboratory originally. And what that does is that positions us to be in a great place to help with coronavirus and coronavirus responses, because actually the laboratories where a lot of these advances are being made, we already have the technology and the know-how and the experience to kind of understand what that situation is. Secondly, we as a company have always believed that we have to look forward more than looking backwards. Manufacturing can be a backward-looking kind of traditional industry, but it's always been like the position of GT-Sign that we need to be a kind of first mover. We need to adopt AI technologies, IoT technologies, and other kind of advanced technologies, and get those into the laboratory and to help researchers stay, again, safe and healthy. I'm not going to go too far into our history, but the really important thing I want to kind of touch on here is that we have over 12 years of experience manufacturing excellent quality storage solutions. So we began with just regular filtered chemical reagent storage cabinets, and then we developed our refrigeration technology and helped us to create our filtered chemical refrigerators, laboratory grade refrigerators, medical refrigerators. And so now the next step in that is to create our vaccine refrigerator. The other thing I would like to touch on is that we're the first company worldwide to create laboratory grade IoT refrigerators. And so that's something that we're quite proud of. Coming to vaccines, the main issue that we see are two things. Number one is the temperature management and monitoring problem. Now, I'm sure that you've heard about the Pfizer vaccine. It requires ultra cold storage. So actually the product that I'm talking to you today is not specifically for that. You would need kind of like a super cold freezer for that. What we're talking about here is refrigerators. We're operating at a 2 degrees to 8 degrees region. And for those, what's extremely important is that the temperature has to be maintained. So at any time, as you go through from the manufacturing to the storage, distribution to the eventual administration, if the vaccine somehow breaks over that 8 degree line, if it somehow is, if there's like a disconnection, it's not managed properly, that vaccine could very well be useless. And so there's real risks involved with vaccines that are being administered that are no longer effective. And then also another big problem is that even if you find out, then you have to then throw out all of these vaccines. And so you might accidentally vaccinate somebody with a useless vaccine. You might figure out that you have this vaccine kind of this whole storage issue, and then you won't have any. You'll need to kind of procure new vaccine, to be able to administer properly. And in this climate where right now people are clamoring for the vaccine, they want to get back to their normal lives, it's extremely important that we provide a kind of storage solution that guarantees that the vaccine that you're receiving is effective and works properly. Because as I note here in the slide, according to the WHO, over 50% of all vaccines, and this is even before COVID, are wasted globally due to failure to maintain proper temperature. The other issue here is the vaccine management and monitoring itself. And so for that, what we see in the field is significant problems with vaccine inventory accounting, vaccine ordering, understanding vaccine expiration dates, beyond use dates, and then proper vaccine disposal after that. And so with our system, with our IoT technology, we're able to provide a comprehensive management system for that as well. So I mentioned before about the cold chain, so it's kind of the title of the presentation. Just to touch on this, this image here comes from the US CDC. And so, there's vaccine manufacturing. Of course, that's extremely important. We see that in the news a lot today. I think the next big thing that we're going to see coming next after that is going to be the distribution, right? So internally here, when we talk with people and other kind of business partners, medical partners, the big issue then becomes, how do we distribute this vaccine? We've got everybody in the world needs to take it, right? How do we get it to them while maintaining these proper temperatures, while handling all of this information? So that's a very big deal, and that's a problem that we're currently looking into solving as well. The next thing is then focusing on the storage, handling, and administration part of it. So for us, once the vaccine arrives at the provider facility, that's when we want to become involved. That's where, because we already have all of this experience, as I mentioned before, over 12 years of experience handling, managing, and safely storing chemical reagents that can be extremely toxic and extremely dangerous, require an extremely comprehensive safety protocol. We already have this kind of experience. And so what we want to be able to do is provide a situation where we can handle these last 3 steps of the vaccine cold chain. Because if, again, as I mentioned before, if the cold chain is not maintained, the end result is a potentially useless vaccine supply. And then we need to get more. There might not be, for simple vaccines like cold flu or chickenpox or something like that, if you have a useless vaccine, you might be able to easily get a new one. But for our coronavirus vaccine, you might not have supply on hand. That could lead up to significant blockages and bottlenecks, and could be a serious issue. So how do we solve those problems I was talking about? Number one is that we have patented refrigeration technology. And so what's really special about this technology is the way that it couples with our circulation system, because we do have a built-in HEPA filter and our own patented Toga filter brand that's built into these refrigerators. So it's a filtered refrigerated storage cabinet, as well as providing the refrigeration technology. And so one thing that's really special about this is that, number one, we can maintain extremely low temperature variance. And because, again, as we mentioned before, it's critical that the temperature is maintained. So not only do we maintain this uniform temperature throughout the refrigerator itself, but on each level of the refrigerator, we can guarantee this low temperature variance. And so that means that, no matter where that vaccine is stored in the refrigerator, you can feel completely confident that it's being within the ratings, the reading that you're getting on the display saying, perhaps 2 degrees or 3 degrees. That is the actual degrees that your vaccine is being refrigerated in. So again, that we don't lose any vaccines. Next, we do have what we're calling our cutting edge IoT technology. And so that works kind of on 3 levels here that I'll kind of walk through. You can see here on the left, I have the image here. I'll bring the mouse over so you can see. So we do have a built-in display, so we can operate directly. Our refrigerators are a smart machine themselves that connect to web and mobile applications in real time, so that you can be able to check on all of these things, whether you're in, actually administrating the vaccines yourself, or if you're managing that rollout. We use RFID tags on each reagent, and so what that does, on each vaccine, excuse me. So what that does is that we can answer the 4 W's, is the way I like to call it. So, who, what, where, when. We can know the answer to all of those questions. Who was using the refrigerator? Who took out the vaccine and administered it? What kind of vaccine was it? Where did they do it? And at what time did they do it? And we can handle all of that information, and that is all being stored and logged in real time, and is being able to be managed. Again, in a situation where supply can be extremely important, then that means it's critical that we know the answer to all of those questions at all times. Next, again, we have real-time temperature monitoring. So what we can then do is not only, again, the display shows up digitally on our 7-inch LCD display, but also, again, on mobile or via web, you can know in real time that the temperatures are again in a safe level. If, for example, somebody were to open the refrigerator, that causes a drastic rise in the temperature, right? And so one issue can be that you might not even realize it, but if you accidentally leave that door open, you can spoil, again, all of those vaccines. Seconds. So 30 seconds left?
30 seconds left, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went on a little bit long. So moving on then, we have that. We also have an intuitive GUI here that allows you to use everything in real time. The next thing I would just quickly mention is that we've designed a system that provides top-down management across all kind of 3 stages. The public institutions that run them, the hospitals that have to administer them, and then the actual people that are administering them as well. I'll skip our clean air technology here because I kind of went over time. I apologize for that. And so I'll end by saying thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed listening to me speak, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Our next presentation is about COVID-19 total solutions focused on Antigen Diagnostic Kit by Ms. Soyoun Kim. She is founder and CEO of PCL Limited. Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Hello, nice meeting you. I just forgot to the mute. Forgot to this. So nice meeting you. My name is Soyoun Kim, and I'm a CEO of founder of the PCL. So as I introduced, we developed COVID-19 related product, more than 10 products from the RT-PCR, antigen, and antibody. And we are the virus specialized company. We developed a high-risk virus like HIV, HCV, HBV together with our proprietary technology called the SGCAP technology. We can detect many viruses at the same time. So mostly today I will present about our the recent discovery about COVID-19 detection kit. Well, since I have only 10 minutes, the 10 minutes allowed, so I like to do with the Korean because we have I believe we have a translator, right? So, because I will be very fast within Korean language. Okay.
Nice to meet you all. As I mentioned in English, my name is Kim Soyoun from PCL, and PCL was established in 2008, and we have our own technology, SG-CAP technology, and in 2017, our company was listed on Kosdaq, and our company is located in Seoul, and also our factory is located in Seoul, Gasan. One of the core technologies that we have is the multi-immunodiagnosis technologies. So by using Soyoun, that is a three-dimensional material, we detect one disease per cell, and at one time we can diagnose 64 diseases, and we have a patent regarding this. So Glyphos developed the Glyphos. However, Abbott is one of the well-known companies in this area, but we went further than that. So the first product that I want to talk about is HISU, high throughput screening system, and this is a system where we are able to diagnose more than 500 people. So as you see here, through blood bank screening, tumor markers, and autoimmunes, we are able to conduct testing. And the same testing system was applied to LOK system, so POCT system, point of care testing system. So at one time, we can test 6 samples on site, and it takes just 30 minutes. And we started to develop this one from December last year, and we completed the development in February, but by chance we could develop a product related to COVID-19, and we started selling the product from March. We have RT-PCR, antigen, and antibody diagnostic kits. And of course, among them, what is most important to us is antigen kits. And regarding RT-PCR, we are using a better raw materials that fastens the time. So we developed the new technologies regarding that, and we are selling the related products to Europe. And also, as part of the screening products, we have ELISA products as well. So we have RT-PCR kit, so we can do this, and testing time is done in 45 minutes. And also, we have Speedy kit, so the testing can be done in 30 minutes. So Speedy Parked POCT machine is available. And COVID-19 and RT-PCR and the other things can be detected at the same time. So multi-immunodiagnostic kits have been developed by us. And the Speedy system is also being used at airports and at the soccer stadiums in Europe. And one of the most representative products that we have is the antigen testing kits. We are selling it to more than 50 countries around the world. And we have registered the product to India as well. And so one of the products that we have is using a machine. So that product has a high sensitivity. Let's say that there is a patient with symptoms, but with low level of fever. However, actually the accuracy of detection is more than 96%. So we have developed other products based on Soyoun CAP technology, and recently we have supplied those products to Egypt and other countries. As you see here, so these are assay results. So through imaging, we are able to identify whether there is a problem or not. So this is highly sensitive. So this is one of the most sensitive products available in the market in this concerned area. Not only in India, but also in other countries, there is a growing demand for conducting tests without a device or without a machine. So that's why we have developed a PCL total saliva testing kit. So depending on whether you see one line or two lines, you can detect whether you were infected or not. And this saliva-based testing kit is popular in Austria and other European countries. So those with symptoms can purchase this at pharmacies. This is the image that we captured from a YouTube content that we have. So this is an example of commercials that we have on YouTube. One of the concerns about the antigen testing kits is the possibility of mutations. So we are targeting the areas that are least likely to be mutated. So at this point, my understanding is that we can check and detect every mutation possibility. And this is the PCL COVID-19 AG rapid IG rapid FIA, IgG and IgM. So IgG, actually in case of IgG, so you see the symptoms, you see the detections after 10 days later. So more recently, there are some cases where we detect people with virus, even with the IgG. But as you know, there are IgM and IgG. And we have testing kits through which you can distinguish neutralized antibodies. And we are providing such products to pharmaceutical companies when they conduct tests. And when testing, what kind of antibodies have been created is also detected, and we are analyzing the data. But at the moment, we cannot say clearly. However, there are not that many cases where there are neutralized antibodies cases. So with the antibody testing kits, Samsung hospitals and other hospitals have been using our products, and they wrote a paper. So specificity of our product is quite high. And as you know, compared to the past, antibody testing kits are being used less than before, because you never know whether the antibodies have been created or not without knowing it or with knowing it. So, but in case of the COVID-19 pandemic, efficacy has not been verified yet. So how many antibodies have been created after being vaccinated will be an important piece of information. So our product will serve as a good means to identify that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. So we are at the end of the first part of session 2. Thank you very much, all the presenters. As we heard 2 presentations from India, and we could listen to 3 interesting products from Korean industries. Now we have a comprehensive session for Q&A discussion. For Q&A discussion, our theme is identify India business demands and cooperation areas. But before getting into the Q&A session, we had requested online participants for passing on their questions. I've received a couple of questions, so let me go to the specific questions. First one is to Dr. Yu. Dr. Yu, can you hear me? Will you please turn on your mic, please? Audio. Dr. Yu, yes. This is for you. The portable Soyoun is a very good device for COVID-19 tests. And how can it be used for severe patients in Korean hospitals? Whether it has been used or it's been used, or will you explain a little bit about the usage of Soyoun for critical patients or serious patients in Korean hospitals?
네, 물론 한국뿐만
Of course, not only in Korea but also in US and in European countries, in more than 40 countries, the Ultra device is being used for primary medicine and also for the severely ill patients. For example, the long ultrasound device enables you to identify whether you have lung-related diseases, and for example, you can find veins, or you can check the abdominal part by using the ultrasound device. So visual guidance can be provided, or in medical terms, intervention is possible with the ultrasound device. And early screening is also possible with the use of this device.
The next question is for the presenters from India. Maybe like both of you can contribute to the answer. The question concern is from a trading point of view. COVID-19 test kit manufacturer in Korea, if they want to export to India, what are the administrative process could they need to go through in terms of registration, and in terms of different states, do they have to go do the same administrative process for registration and all? If you have any information about that, that will be very useful for our Korean audience. Dr. Pastor, maybe you can take up first, and then Mr. Irshad, you can also suggest. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So in India, generally, the state bodies approve the manufacturing of these things. Now, if we are importing, I think in that case also we need certain approvals. So I think one thing is that the local, so it has to have the relevant certifications at the host country, wherever it is, and a certain set of regulatory requirements in India has to be fulfilled. But I think if you want more details on that, I'll get that, and maybe Dr. Irshad is knowing better. I think, so I'm not 100% sure on that as of now, but I'll share that information later.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ashutosh. From my understanding, how it works is you wouldn't need a license in individual license in separate states. This happens at a high level. The first validation step, like I mentioned, is with the ICMR. So if it is already US FDA approved, you can even skip that step. And for the import licensing and the marketing approval, that is where you go to the DCGI, who give you that particular license. So that's about it. But so the kits are mostly handled by the government itself. It goes through the government. Each of them are counted like that. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. I still have 5-6 minutes left for this session. So let me throw a general remark based on our theme of the session as well as theme of our conference. That's innovation platform and business demands and cooperation, areas of cooperation. So may I request all three presenters from Korea to suggest or to point out some of common concerns or some common challenges if the Korean technology firms or startups want to technology commercializations in India. So what may be their expectations from our, say, like a international global network? What kind of support they may be needed, they may need for technology commercialization into India? May I ask Mr. David to comment on that?
Thank you. I guess the first thing that I would mention is when it comes to technology commercialization, it's going to have to start with a good idea. One thing that we've noticed coming from our experience, first developing the booths and having worked with the booths and done overseas projects with the booths, that's actually something that I'm a little bit more comfortable speaking about when it comes to actually taking a product, having an idea, making it, and then bringing it to market. The kind of biggest thing, I guess you could look at this almost as an opportunity, is that when we had a brand new idea that nobody else had, the kind of biggest barrier, or kind of not barrier kind of thing, is that there's no kind of certification process. So like when we first made these walking through booths, people didn't know kind of what level the positive pressure had to be in, what kind of standards, like, did you need like a HEPA filter system to be in there or not, what you had to kind of work with. Everything's just wide open. And so in that kind of situation, you don't need to actually get like some kind of government certification or acceptance. You can just actually take your ID to market as given that you kind of have proof that it works, whether that's internal testing or out in the field when we actually started to install our booths here in healthcare centers around Korea and around the globe. And so I guess that the kind of thing, that the idea that I would have is that, if you can come up with something that's entirely new that we haven't kind of thought about yet, whether that's in the context of COVID response or some other idea, then that can be just a really amazing opportunity to kind of springboard to go like zero all the way to market extremely quickly. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can I also add some comment?
Yes, please.
Okay, so because we, as you know, we already registered our product, Antigen product in India. We are also start selling our product, both in our product, and also we are selling as an OEM product to the company also. So what I felt is, I think a system for the registration and certification is very well established in India, so there's no doubt about it. And also it's very good, you have a very fair system to evaluate from the ICMR. But the problem is, I think it's most likely it's only the Indian market. I think when the good product with a good technology try to get into the Indian market, it's the price is matter, only the price, not the quality. So I think because it's been in Korea also for a long time ago, but especially for medical device or medical product, not only the price, also the quality should be matter. So you have to consider both factors. But now only the product price is the most matter to sell in the Indian market. Indian market is huge, as you know. It's one of the biggest, the country in the market. However, in a medical device, if it's not a quality insured, it's nothing. So its price is nothing. So let's think about like a diagnostic. So if it's 50% the accuracy, so why you are using the diagnostic kit? You're just guessing. The guessing is better than the kit. So I think it's quality. In addition to, I think India also think about quality in not only the price. So have to evaluate both quality and also the price, because the people are sending very good things to the evaluation, and once they are start selling, they are selling different the product. So should be I think it's because of price, I think. So that's why I think price and quality should be considered that way. I think Indian market can have very good, provide very good environment for all of them, and also it will be good for the Indian market too, I think.
Okay, with that, we are at the end of our first part of session 2. Thank you very much, all the presenters and all the participants. May I request Professor Park to take you through the second part of the second session 2.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Park Yong-dong again. So session 2.1 was concluded, and now we'll go into the session 2-2, which is about the Korea-India joint R&D project. So I'd like to double-check the presence of the presenters. Do we have a Director Kim YoungHwa? Yes, we have Mr. Director Kim YoungHwa, and we also have a Director Younghoon. Would you please show me your hand? Would you please wave me to show that you are here? And then we also have a Director Sumanth Vasista. Do we have Director Sumanth Vasista from the SAL Bioscience? Okay, so I think everybody's here. And we can start the session 2-2. Well, we have a slightly different structure in this session because the presenters have been working for the past 1 year on this Korea-India joint R&D project, because they actually designed the project and then they also made application for that. So 1 year has passed, and this is the last stage of the approval. So we'd like to invite these three presenters. Well, we expected the approval will be done within 1 month. So we thought this is a kind of kick-off meeting for this project, but I think the approval is slightly delayed, and we can't move on as planned. So we have three presentations, and the first one will be presented by the Sumanth Vasista from the SAL Biosciences, and the second presenter is from the Rural Research Institute. So let me invite the first presenter, the Sumanth Vasista from the SAL Biosciences. So please prepare for the presentation. We actually are conducting the project together with the SAL Biosciences. So this is about the farming, especially focusing on the plant recipe. This is the startup company in India. So would you please start your presentation by showing your slide? Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. I hope I'm audible. Okay, so first of all, thanks Dr. Park for the introduction, and and also thanks Irshad Ahmed, who has previously launched on the project. So I'm going to essentially keep it brief and try to take you through the outline of the project that we have planned out for the next 2 years, and hopefully look at it from a more concrete commercialization angle. So I'm Sumanth Vasista. I'm the director of SAL Biosciences, and just a brief update on what Irshad had previously discussed. SAL Biosciences is the parent company for ALEAF with respect to all of its EG tech applications. And predominantly, we focus on both AG tech as well as biotech, points. And our research essentially focuses on both these aspects. So in this presentation, I'm going to briefly go through 3 points. We're going to discuss the project overview and do a little bit of a technology deep dive in terms of what we offer to our Korean consortium counterparts and how we plan to essentially create an integrated product that we can take for commercialization in the third section. So skipping over here, just a brief intro about SAB. We are a Bangalore, India-based tech company. We focus on biotech applications. Our specialization is what we call photobiology, where we do conduct research on how stimulus of light can affect different organic matter, including plants, plant cells, as well as bacteria and fungi. And through this modulation, we plan to develop novel recipes for enhancing the growth or other commercially important qualities.
잠깐만요, 사만스 잠깐만요. 저 풀스크린으로 지금 풀스크린으로 해.
Would you please show the slide in the full screen? Can you enlarge the screen in the full size?
풀스크린 안 나올까?
Could you enlarge the screen to the full size? 네, 잠시 기다려 주시면 제가 전체 화면으로 확대를 하도록 하겠습니다.
I think this should suffice. Okay. So as discussed, the first part is we're going to do a bit of a project overview, where we're going to answer the basic questions: what is it about, and why we're doing it. So as we understand the why or the need that arises in majority of the vertical or indoor farming setting, it is highly dependent on artificial grow lights, which is the primary component, and it draws more than 50% of the total energy and operating costs in terms of energy. So here there is a lot of room for improvement, which is the opportunity that we identify, is that by developing novel recipes that minimizes wasted light, we can actually enhance the overall efficacy of a grow light and hence increase the profit margin of a vertical farm. So how we plan to do it is what the project is all about, where using our technology called the Tesseract workflow, we want to identify and develop these novel recipes for plants of food or pharmacological nature, and have a certain handoff of this data and recipes to the vertical farms and the grow light manufacturers in Korea, so that we can develop an integrated product that has relevance in the developing domain of vertical farming. So just a brief on the need for technology. As we would call it, there are and what I would call it as a qualitative as well as a quantitative need. Qualitative is where we say that the different kinds of wavelengths has different effects on the plant's growth, and we need to essentially be cognizant of what is the right proportion of the right wavelength necessary to ensure that we don't waste energy, as well as we provide the right stimulus for the plants to grow indoors. This becomes the biggest make or break factor in making a vertical farm profitable. And more on a commercial and a realistic basis, what I call quantitative is that at least for India, we pay, compared to some of the other countries in the world, we pay a much higher cost of energy per unit watt compared to some of the other countries, which means that for every grow light that we install, we are further diminishing the monetary benefit out of the indoor farm, which means that if we are able to develop energy minimizing solutions, we can definitely develop the profitability of these ventures. So that is what I would call the qualitative as well as the quantitative need. So that basically brings us to the project that's going to happen for the next 22 months, where the India team as well as the South Korea team will be working hand in hand to develop what I would call the software as well as the hard technology. So what I would call software is essentially the recipes or the soft tech that we will develop, and the integration of that into a vertical farm setting and developing a more enhanced grow light technology is what the Korean team will be focusing on later on, so that together we can essentially commercialize this upgraded or smart grow light or smarter technology in both Indian as well as Korean markets. So in terms of the responsibilities that we'll be sharing in the due course of the project is there's a timely handoff. There are 3 milestones. We are currently starting with the milestone 1. And through each milestone, we have definitive handoffs in terms of the data, as well as the testing that has to be performed both at the Korean end as well as the Indian end, and timely handoff, timely feedback in terms of what is happening is going to ensure that we are going to develop and fine-tune the process and the product within the stipulated time. And the end point is, of course, the establishment of not only the recipes or the technology, but also an integrated platform that is the grow light into the vertical farm setting, where we have proof of concept that it really is as valuable as we claim. So just a key novelty point is that because our technology is high throughput, we are able to generate information of a vast magnitude, and using data analytics, convert those information into usable value addition products for the vertical farm. So as to essentially keep a quantified approach, we have identified the 8 crops that we are going to work on for the next 2 years, and these 8 crops happens to be butterhead lettuce, strawberry, wasabi, chards, and pennywort. So the reason is that these are the most commonly used food as well as pharmacologically relevant crops. And the idea is that if you are able to comprehensively develop a unique solution to these, we have a large enough market, not just in India and Korea, but also across the world, where people are interested in growing these and hence interested in taking the technology that we have developed. So these are the primary plans that we'll be working on with for the next 2 years. So in terms of the intellectual property development, as you can understand, both the Indian team and the Korean team will be developing quite a number of novel technology applications that has value for beyond the scope of the project. The Tesseract workflow, which is our novel workflow that we will use to develop data, is in itself a process or an assembly, which and also the crop specific recipes of the light intensity ratios and some of the other information that we generate is also going to be valuable, because that directly translates to profitability in real world settings. And we also have at this point a default data sharing agreement between the teams, so that handoff of data and the handoff of information happens, and we are able to essentially monetize it as quickly as possible. So the project endpoints, as we have identified, is obviously a commercialization, not just to develop an R&D story for the sake of it, but rather develop a small set of commercializable products in terms of the recipes as well as the integrated grow lights that can go and sit in plant factories across the world. So essentially that is the project that we are looking at. To summarize, we want to develop recipes and integrate it into vertical farm factory and showcase that we can actually improve the profit margin and hence make this technology profitable. So just to do a little bit of a deep dive on the technology that we offer from the India side is what we call the Tesseract workflow. Now the Tesseract workflow essentially is a two-pronged component. The workflow in itself consists of specially designed chambers where we can regulate the amount of light and the combinations of light that we can provide in a controlled manner, and capture both morphological as well as biochemical data of plants. And all of this data that is captured goes into our proprietary spectral optimization algorithm, which essentially identifies using data analytics, identify the right intensities and amounts in combinations of different wavelengths that is necessary to maximize or minimize a particular endpoint. So it's an operations research program that essentially integrates with the growing module. So together for a given problem statement, we can quickly generate huge amount of data and then process it so that we can generate novel recipes. So in terms of its application, it's not just the food crops that can benefit. Like I have explained, it's the food and plants as well as plant systems, and even by a certain fungi and bacterial systems that can respond to our technology, and hence we can develop novel applications downstream. So as we have explained, we are also looking at expanding its value in food as well as pharma applications. Yeah. So just to brief on some of our validation stories that we have built so far, while working with various academia and institutes across the world, we have conducted side-by-side blinded studies with, for example, the Francisco group in Italy and some of the other counterparts in US, where we have developed certain results, and we have done a comparative study from some of the other equivalent technologies that are out there, and we are able to show some remarkable accuracy and quality in terms of the data and assertions that we are able to develop. In terms of our ability to actually improve a particular endpoint, I want to give this example where one of our clients required to increase the redness of retinitis, and they were not able to achieve it for example in the conventional setting, but by using our specialized technology to maximize the anthocyanin content, we were able to give them a particular solution that tremendously increased the red coloration of red value, which translated to higher they could sell it at a higher price. So that's how this kind of an R&D was quickly translated to factory usage. One more last example in the bio or the pharma tech, where our technology also has application, is in production of very specific secondary metabolites, which are used in medicine as well. So one of the best example is a cancer molecule called cordycepin, where we were able to enhance the production of that particular molecule in fungi models using the same technology and workflow that we have developed. So these are all just example cases or validation cases that state that for the given objective of improving energy efficiency in vertical farm setting, we are well placed and reasonable to state that we are able to provide this solution in the coming 2 years. So the last section, of course, I think it makes more sense to essentially do it at the discussion point, but I'm just going to brief on some of the points that are relevant. Obviously, the first one is the current market overview, and I'm talking about it majorly from the India point of view, but we are not restricting it to in any way to India. But just to kind of enhance and emphasize why it is useful. So, of course, the APAC region that consists of India, South Korea, also the Oceania, happens to be the highest, the most accelerating market for vertical farms and indoor farms. For obvious reasons, we see land issues more than the rest of the world. So it's a very well placed market, and it's valued at around $4 billion today, and it's only going to increase from here. And we have tremendous adoption in India as well, because more and more of the younger generation are actually essentially adopting this kind of a module, which means that this is going to accelerate even further in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think this is perhaps the most important slide relevant to this discussion, is that in India there are tremendous opportunity for this particular market and this particular technology, which is whichever is established in Korea, to essentially enter India in terms of developing technologies focused on vertical and indoor farms, especially grow lights, which is the point of interest for us. There are around 2,500 vertical farms established so far, which require grow lights, and if you are able to give them a tunable grow light with all of this information already developed, then there is much more adoption, because it's for the ease of use. Around 1.6 million square feet of indoor farming is available, where lighting solutions become important. There are also almost more than 50,000 plus labs that are working on specifically problem statements where grow lights and its associated products can also benefit. So this is just the smallest glimpse of where the grow light and the vertical farming market where we stand and how essentially developing a more comprehensive and smarter product along with our Korean team can directly translate to more product integration in the Indian market. So in terms of the commercialization, of course, these are projections, but it's fair to say that within a relative band of investments up to say 10 crores or 150 billion won, it is not too far-fetched to expect a three-digit year-on-year growth, at least for the first 3-4 years, if you are able to completely concentrate on Indian markets. And these are conservative figures. We're not even trying to exaggerate here. So just to summarize the key takeaways is that we have specifically developed technology and we have validated through first principles a workflow that can generate information relevant to the plant factory in this context and develop smarter recipes that can integrate into grow lights and farming technology. And we want to essentially work with the established farming and grow light technology in the Korean consortium to develop an integrated product that can then be marketed across the world, especially in Korea. But of course, we want to take it much further than that. And that's essentially the idea that started along with the Elif guys and Sal Biosciences guys and the Korean team. And I think, like Dr. Park said, we have essentially, started taking the first step now. The only thing is the actual result to be announced is pending. But besides that, we are from our end, completely ready to essentially start this project. So that's basically my brief discussion. Thanks everyone for listening to me. And again, this has been a great honor to talk in this forum.
네, 감사합니다. Sumanth.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
So what language do you use? Which language do you use? English or Korean? Okay. 다음 발표자로 갈게요.
So let me move on to the next presentation.
The next presenter is Mr. Kim YoungHwa, Director of Intelligent Smart Farm Expert Research Group of the Rural Research Institute of Korea Rural Community Corporation. The Rural Research Institute of Korea Rural Community Corporation is working on exportation, and they are running various kinds of projects. And Mr. Kim YoungHwa is the director of the relevant research group. So, Dr. Kim, please keep the time 20 minutes. Yes, I see. Nice to meet you all. Especially, I'd like to say hello to Indian researchers. And this is the session where we talk about Korea-India Technology Cooperation Network. And today, I'd like to talk about vertical farms as well as Korean smart farms. And I'd like to present you with the commercialization strategies as well. This is the content of my presentation: high-tech agriculture and smart farm K-Plan system, K-Smart Farm Overseas Project, and K-Smart Farm Project Proposal. The number of population is growing and the climate is changing, and this requires the ICT convergence. High-efficient automated agriculture system is needed, and stable production in agricultural sector is demanded these days. And those that used to be cultivated outside are coming inside. So agriculture is coming into the city from the remote areas and from the rural areas. So as you see in one of the pictures, there are structures in the indoor greenhouses, and that is conversed with the ICT technologies. So big data is leveraged here. This is not just a normal greenhouse. Mushrooms, orchard, fish farms can be incorporated into this kind of greenhouse. There are many reasons why we do smart farm. One of the reasons is to increase productivity. According to the data available, productivity can increase by 40%, quality can increase by 30%, and labor costs can be reduced by 30%. Overall, our profit can go up by 60% according to one research in case of using smart farm. And the global market in terms of smart farming is growing. So the annual growth rate of Korean smart farm sector is 6.7%, and at the moment, the growth rate is more than 30%. So I'd like to talk about the K-Smart Farm plant system. So ICT-related technologies is converged to the smart farm plant system. Software is used here for the farm plant system. Water technologies, nutrient, liquid technologies are converged here. And this is about the new layout of the greenhouses. So the new greenhouse layout is different from the old layout. And the POSCO developed the new materials called POST-MAC, and it is highly anti-corrosive, and price is not that expensive. And these new materials can be sustaining the greenhouse for a long time. And this is an assembly-based system. Cooling is a combination of passive and active technologies, such as aluminum screen, side painting, and fog and fan, etc. So as you see here, up to 6 degrees Celsius can be adjusted by using this technology. But if you want to lower further temperatures, you can use additional technologies, such as active technologies. And this is related to the software, and based on the government subsidy, we have a plan to expand the system to farms. And this is an example of technologies using geothermal solutions. And this is the newly recognized system. And one of the K-Smart farm plant systems is the nutrient recycling technology. So once water is used, they go through purification systems so that purified water is reused. So this is a system that has been recently developed by Korea, and now it is it starts to be in use. These are cultivation technologies, hydroponics, aquaponics, and hanging gutter systems. So the cultivation technologies are evolving. As for hydroponics technologies, as you see here, fish can be cultivated here. In Korea, we made a success case where fish and vegetables are cultivated together. So for example, eels and vegetables can be cultivated together, and tomato and other kinds of vegetables can be cultivated together. And water and energy can be combined together. And as a result, we have IFDS system, Farming Decision Support System. So this is AI and machine learning based system. And this is the technologies that is being researched together with India as well. And as for Korean ICT technology involvement, I have prepared these slides. So there are several categories, K1 type, K2 type, K3 type, internet-based sensor nodes, controller nodes, based passive system, that is K1 type. And K2 type is having intentional farming decisions and cloud service systems on top of the K1 type. And the cloud service was already developed, and this is being used by farms. However, a robot-based automation system is not in commercialization stage. So for this area, we need to pursue further research. And geothermal system and cloud-based ICT systems and GigaSmart, which is being developed by KT, all these are converged together. And the vertical farm will be pursued together, with India. And let me move on to the overseas projects. There is a middle standing company that is called Isu Chemicals in Korea. So they started from a pharmaceutical sector, but they are also working in the biotechnology sectors. So they did install this facility, as you see on the screen, in China. And these are the crops that are cultivated in that facility. Bell pepper, cherry tomatoes are being cultivated in those facilities. As you see here, yield ratio is quite high. This is up and running at the moment in China. And that is another example. So these fruits and vegetables are being produced in those facilities. And next, let me move on to K-Smart Farm project proposals. K-Smart Farm technology is quite advanced. So the water, nutrient solution, and heating and cooling technologies are combined together, and all these systems are being controlled by ICT technology. And in India, we think that these technologies will be commercialized in India in the future. But to do this, we need a consortium. So from the Indian side, local companies or local governments, team members needs to join, and the same goes to the Korean side. KAIST GCC and the Business Research Group of the Rural Communities Research Institute will cooperate for the future. And so I'd like to talk about future business opportunity concerning greenhouse systems. And I'm not sure whether the Korean-style greenhouse has been established in India. But first of all, small-scale farm needs to be established first in India. And in that case, we estimated the cost necessary. So this is the estimation of the cost in case of having a smart farm on a small scale in India. For example, 6,000 plus 140 square meters. In case of cultivating mushroom, profit is calculated as follows. So according to this estimation, this model is quite feasible business-wise in India. And in this case, this requires 4-hectare greenhouse, and APC center needs to be there as well. And in such a case, cost is $7 million US, however, still profitable, quite high. And if we go more in a bigger scale, let's say that if we adopt 10 hectare in the land for a smart farm, this is the estimation of profit. So approximately $10 million US is expected. So I think that this requires the government assistance or the participation of large companies. So these are smart farm steps, implementation processes, as you see on the screen. Here in Korea, there are many different models available. So, for example, there is a complex model, there is a greenhouse complex model, or there is another model called rural smart farm model, smart town model. So this is about making a smart town in the rural communities. In the past, this kind of program was focused on just improving the living conditions. However, this is more also about improving income of farmers. And the last model is the rural village model. So it's about building a large-scale rural village according to a project. So the young farmers and residents will be able to be trained as well under the model. So from green gas training and education, and seedling nursery room, and to distribution. So all these processes can be tackled. And this whole system can be connected to a distribution company or distribution system. So one of the possible ways is to establish a distributor. But if we think about farmers, I think that it's better to think about a separated company for distribution. And this is about educating and training visitors and residents. So if these programs are available, we can gain profit from admission fees. And this is another way of generating income for farming communities. And more recently, here in Korea, the Smart Farm Village project is actively being pursued. So green space, basement space, and the rooftop space of buildings can be turned into farming space. And this kind of model can be part of the new town development project. So this is a good example of an urban development plan. And another thing is smart farm project, tea farm. So it's a tea farm is a plant farm. So fresh factory 1, 2, 3, the processing work is done, and after processing, the agriculture products are distributed. And I think this is one of the areas where we can also pursue joint research as well. So all these products have been produced and are being sold in Korea, for example. So with new recipes, so new products can be produced with the new packagings, so these can be sold to the market. And this is another type, which is like a container. This is an automated the plant factory. So this is the model that we are selling at the moment. So Dr. Kim, please finish your presentation within a minute. So this is a Farm 8 factories picture And this is the thing that we are studying together with India. So strawberry cultivation project. So this is the container farm for cultivating strawberry. So the Korean or K smart farm technology can be further advanced along with Indian researchers, and that will be definitely will be commercialized, I believe. Thank you for listening. Dr. Kim, thank you for your presentation. And the next presenter is Mr. Younghoon An, Director of the R&D Center of APAC. APAC is one of the important companies that are involved in the Korea-India Technology Cooperation Network. So the APAC is introducing the LED lights in relations to horticulture. So some of you may wonder why LED manufacturer is here in this presentation session, but I'd like to emphasize that APAC is such an important company in relation to cooperation with India. So, Mr. An, are you ready? Yes, please share the screen and please start your presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to deliver this presentation. Let me introduce myself first. I am a director of the R&D Center in the APAC. My name is Younghoon. The title of my presentation today is the development of LED grow lights. Of course, I will introduce my company and also the LED, especially for the grow light. Our company was established in 1999, and we got the investment from the global companies. And our head office is located in the Daejeon, and it takes about 2 hours from Seoul. We have more than 80 the patents. The products that we provide is for the local market as well as for the global market, and that's why we have a license as well as certification necessary for the overseas and local market. This slide shows the major partners and the clients. We will also work together with the Samsung and the LG Electronics. We are very close partners to them. This is the business area that we are focusing in. Number one is LED light, and then next is solar energy. So I'd like to cover first about the LED lighting. In the LED, the business, we have the experts with the master's degree and the doctor's degree. And regarding the grow light, we already have numerous successful cases. And we also have a very high efficient product, and we already have a mass production capability. This slide shows the lighting lineup, and we have 3 different types of the lineup. Number one is for the outdoor lighting, and second is industrial lighting, and the last one is horticulture lighting or the grow light. So we have a high voltage lighting, and we also have a lightweight product. But this is FD series as well as FD series, which are very lightweight model. And this is mostly widely used in the golf course as well as the other sports stadium. We enjoy #1 share in the sports sector. We are also very active in the global market, including European market. We have the industrial lighting. The right-hand side shows the BOI model. And this is widely distributed in the Costco, the wholesaler in Korea. We already got the credit for the outstanding performance of our product, and we actively conduct R&D activities. Our products are installed in outdoors as well as indoors. This means that we need to still maintain the high efficiency even in the harsh environment, even in the dust and the humid setting. So that's why we have a waterproof testing before mass production. The photo on the left-hand side shows the parking lot lamp. We established this one in 2010, and it lasts more than 10 years. So this also shows the reliability because we have been using for more than 10 years. So we use it for 24 hours and for more than 10 years. So we have been using more than 85,000 hours. And at first, it was 93%. I did installation myself about 10 years ago. And at that time, I was wondering what would happen after 10 years. And I was really amazed at the performance of the LED lighting. This is the simulation that we conducted. And we provide the most accurate lighting simulation for our valued clients. This is also applied to the grow light. Now, I'd like to talk about the horticulture lighting. Our company, APEC, provides the most optimized grow light for the planting or the horticulture. So we provide it to the educational institutions as well as the other research institutes. We conduct numerous projects by using various models of our company. So we actually do the collaboration with the many different entities. This is the product that we sell right now. It's 320 watt level, and it weighs about 3 kilo, which is the lightest version. And it also has a downsized the model, where the size should not be very large, because that way it would not block the sunlight and does not create any shadow, so that it will be more positive to the plants. PP is about 2.3 micromodule. We have a 450 nano. This is, again, a very specialized device that we have for the horticulture. And this is a 600 watt level. And this is a bit similar to the one that I introduced previously. Recently, we also introduced this one to the horticulture, including the U.S. as well as the Canadian market, because in those countries, growing the marijuana is illegal, and this also can be used. And we are currently working very hard to get the necessary license or permit to make an entry into those North American market. This is something that you must be very familiar with. This is a prototype. Again, this is the LED light product, and China also offer the similar products. But the key issue is performance, and the key lies in the LED recipe. And we also need to provide the long-term the guarantee in terms of the quality as well as efficiency. So once it is installed, it should last long and should not have any frequent breakdown, so that it would not hamper the growing of the plant. So reliability is extremely important, and it also should endure all the different settings. These are some of the references that I can introduce, and these are the sites where we installed our lightings. This is the Yume farm in Japan, where they grow various types of vegetables and the fruits, including strawberry. I think this is very much relevant to today's presentation, because this is about the Korea-India collaboration. So we also developed the special lighting, LED lighting, and we have a total of 8 channels, so that the users can easily operate and control the device. So this is the kind of mechanism that we have here. So in the future, especially for the grow light, the wavelength control is extremely important for the energy efficiency. So this is the area that we would focus still well into the future. This will conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
지금 오신 분들
And there are some participants that are coming inside of the room, and you may be wondering whether you were late for the sessions or not, but you are not late. Actually, the session you are supposed to come in starts from 4 p.m. But for the current session, we need to cover some questions. So for 10 minutes, we'll have a Q&A session. So I'd like to ask a question to APAC. So in relation to plant factory, have you ever sold your product in Korea? So in Korea, vertical farm is getting bigger and bigger, and more companies are involved in vertical farming. And recently, actually, we did installations in 2 sites, which are quite big. And so one of the types that we installed is the tube type. So per site, we have installed 20,000 tubes. And also we have the installations of the glass greenhouse and the plastic greenhouse. And in relations to marijuana, actually there are some regions that we are thinking of. So that is also a possible area for business. So speaking of the 2 sites you talked about, where are they located? So should I reveal the name? So what is the size of the land? So my understanding is that a site is about 5,000 pyeongs. But tube-wise, it is a site that can accommodate 20,000 tubes. So per rack, so 20,000 tubes, or between 20,000 and 30,000 tubes are installed. And also, one of the sites is extending its facility. So that would be the outstanding facility. So more and more companies are joining the club, establishing vertical farms. Wow, the vertical farm market in Korea is quite active. Yes, that's right. But Russia was also one of the countries who was active in doing that. However, because of the COVID-19 situations, they are at a standstill. But in relation to marijuana, actually, there are some possible projects in the United States. So that was a good answer from APAC.
Now this question is directed to Mr. Sumanth from the SAL Biosciences. And my question is, well, you already completed the technology development. And would you please tell me some of the countries where the technology can be best adopted? Can you think of any other country where this technology can be optimized or utilized? Would you please turn on the radio, or turn on the audio, sorry.
So to answer question one, so essentially as a proof of concept, we do have kind of a version 1 of the technology that has been developed and substantiated to a greater extent. In the course of this particular project, what we want to do is develop a kind of a version 2 with some enhanced features and in terms of the automation and data capture capabilities. So yes, we do have some framework of the technology already developed that we can use even today. Now, in terms of the second, what I believe is every country and every geography obviously has its own priorities in terms of what is valuable. So in terms of a profitable venture, we believe that, I believe that there are very specific subsets of plants that will be going through. For example, I think we've already gone through marijuana, which is an important commodity in the North American region. Similarly, there are subsets of very specific exotic spices and cosmetic-related crops that India essentially prefers. For example, saffron and some of its derivatives. So it just so happens that it's not to identify for it's rather than identifying where all we can sell, say, strawberries and tomatoes. The right approach would rather be to identify for a given region which is that one or a subset of crops that people are interested to invest a little more on and essentially develop solutions appropriately for that, whether it's exotic spices in the India and the Middle West, Arabic countries, whether it's marijuana or whether it's very specific protein-rich solutions for specifically used in the Europe continent. So I believe that there are very specific requirements per group, and we have to essentially research on identifying that and providing solutions appropriately there. I hope that essentially answers that question.
두 번째 질문은 사만스.
Second question also goes to Mr. Sumanth. So my second question. So you have a target crops, right? And you gave some example of the target crops. So what is the most profitable one? You mentioned about the marijuana. Definitely. Marijuana can enjoy the handsome profit, but in Korea, there are a lot of companies who want to grow or cultivate that. But how about in India, Tanabe, especially Tanabe? What do you think?
Absolutely. Like I said, the one thing that India really likes is its spices. So there are crops like saffron. And we are trying to establish wasabi, which again is becoming very prominent in the Indian food palette as well. So what I believe is in terms of the crops that we have selected strawberry, honeybolt, and Swiss chard, especially for the reason that it has extremely high value commercially in the Indian market. And we have also identified other crops such as golden seal and saffron, which takes a little bit more to actually grow in a vertical farm setting. But if we are able to essentially crack it, then there are tremendous markets in India for those crops. So in India, simply put, it is the exotic berries, usually that grows in colder temperatures, because India is a hot country. It prefers to, it really likes its cold berries like strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and those sorts of crops, which we value very highly. And so I think if you are targeting an Indian market, I think these kind of berries will be a best fit for both the vertical farms as well as the Indian market.
자, 그러면은 사만스 씨한테 마지막 질문.
May I ask the third question? Well, this is going to be the last question to Sumanth. Well, I know that the last step is to get the approval for this project, but it is yet to get the approval. So, would you please briefly describe the current stage? Can you wrap it up within 1 minute? The final status.
Yeah, so essentially we have the approval. It's the publication of the final results that we just need the final authority to sign in on. So it's more of a bureaucratic thing, not a technical issue. As soon as that signature from the DST, that is Department of Science and Technology, is gone through, I think the Geeta team will be more than happy to essentially send out an email stating that we have started. But from our end, we've already done our agreement signing and we have passed on the due diligence process. So we have agreed to essentially start the project or backstart the project from December, which is why this becomes relevant. So yeah, so we are gone through. We are only waiting for the final email address from the Geeta, which only is dependent on the higher authority to essentially do the final signature on papers. So we are waiting for that bureaucratic process to pass through.
네, 감사합니다. 그러면
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The speaker from India. So I'd like to extend my thanks to the Indian speaker. And this ends the session. Thank you for your participation. See you next time. Thank you.